Ethan?
I'll start us off. Hey Courtney. So, anybody who watched last year, the regional against Oregon knew that Rylin could step up in big moments and make a big hit. But just what do you think of this weekend? Really, had one heck of a weekend.
Well, I think that none of us were surprised by it. I mean, Rylin is a tremendous hitter. And she's been, I hope I get the opportunity. I literally just said this in my last Zoom. I hope I get the opportunity to just gush about Rylin every time I get to do an interview, because I'm just really proud of her and impressed by the route that she's taken to get where she is. I mean, she's worked her tail off. This is who Rylan's been from the beginning. And I just think she's really unique in college athletics. I'm really, really happy she's a Razorback. And what you're seeing now, what
I said, me too.
what you're seeing now is what we've seen for a long time. I mean, she's a tremendous hitter, and so she's worked her tail off for this, and she earns every second of this moment that she's in.
And then you said going into Clearwater that you really wanted it was going to be a good indicator of just kind of where the team's at. Just kind of what was your assessment of the weekend?
Well, I come out of the weekend really optimistic about our team. I think we were challenged on Friday. I think it was a good balance of being challenged, not firing on all cylinders, not playing exceptionally well, for us to see the adjustments that we have to make a lot quicker than we made them, on both sides of it, in the circle and in our at bats. And I saw a huge response from the team, which is critical for how long and how grueling our season is. The thing I'm most impressed by and happy with is our response. I think that we played very well Saturday and Sunday. And I think that we handled it well more than anything. Not only did we play better, but we handled it well. And so I'm really pleased and optimistic about the direction that we're going.
And last thing that I'll ask is another player who really stood out to me was Casey. Just had a really great game against Florida State to start things off, and then another game laid it all out there to make a catch. Just will you talk about kind of the toughness that she brings to the team?
Yeah, what you didn't see is her take a little bit of an angle and then had to recover with the dive. But she makes big plays, and she plays hard. She doesn't know how to not play 100% and every day and everything that she does. And so I think that that's what, if you have that, privilege of watching her on a daily basis in practice, she goes 100%, 100 miles a minute with everything that she does. She has huge power. I mean, we've saw that last year in her swing too. I think she's worked really hard to just make her strengths stronger, make her weaknesses stronger. She's practiced and just grinded. She's a worker. I mean, she will literally have Parker throw his arm off for her to get better and to practice. And so that's who she is, more than anything. And she's that way every minute of every day.
Thank you.
Ordinance?
Yeah, my question is for Rylin, actually. You just heard Coach Deifel, gush about you as a player. How do you think your game has changed from last year to the start of this year?
I feel like the biggest thing has just been like my confidence. I feel like softball especially, I can't really talk for every sport, but I feel like softball especially, like you have to have confidence in yourself no matter what the circumstance is. And I feel like this year I've just trusted myself more and been a lot more confident in myself. And I feel like it's shown. So, yeah.
I love that. And talking about this weekend, Coach Deifel just talked about y'all bouncing back, and that was awesome to see on Saturday and Sunday. You guys take that adversity in the first day and come back and get a few wins. What's your assessment of the weekend in Clearwater?
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like since I've been here, we haven't been tested to that extent this early in the season, which I feel like will just help us more towards the end as well. And I feel like I mean, we played the best two teams that we played the first day that we were there, so we were tested right off the bat. But I feel like we kept fighting the whole time. Obviously, like it didn't end the way that we wanted it to. We didn't win, but those two games. But I feel like we kept fighting, and that's the most important thing that our coaches have told us so far is like no matter what, no matter like the outcome, they just want us to continue to fight until the very end, until we don't have any more outs left. And I feel like that's one of the biggest lessons that we learned from this weekend was that we had to keep fighting. And I feel like we did that throughout the weekend, even the days following the first day. And we will continue to do that going into this weekend too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun being on the road, but it's way better being at home, right? Being back at Bogle,
Yes.
how's it feel to be back at Bogle Park?
Yeah, it's traveling is cool and everything, but it's so much more fun to be at home. I mean, we have a great fan base. And it's just playing at your home field is it's just so special. And I feel like since we're playing Arizona this weekend, it'll just be that much more exciting too, because it's our first weekend and we get to rematch with them. So I think it'll just be really exciting.
And then last one is for Courtney. Courtney, how are you guys preparing for, to be back at home, but also face, just like Rylin said, a ranked opponent in Arizona?
Well, it's honestly nice to be preparing for two teams and not five. And so we are just kind of diving into what Arizona does and what Drake does and making sure that we're equipped to handle that, while also just making sure we're fine tuning what we do really well. So yeah, we're excited. We're excited to trim down to two opponents and take that on.
That's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Justin?
I want to start with Rylin. Rylin, down in Florida, I asked you about your mindset coming into last weekend, and then you go out and you have the weekend you did. I'm curious how that your mindset going into this Arizona weekend has adapted now that you're coming off such an incredible performance.
I feel like it's the same thing. The thing about softball is you can't really ride the really highs and the really low lows. So like just trying to stay like even kill. So I have acknowledged that I had a good weekend, but also I don't want to just focus on that. I'm trying to just stay even kill, like I said, like stay confident and just trust in my abilities for this weekend so that hopefully I can have another good weekend too, but not base my thoughts based off of just what happened last weekend, because that's in the past.
Do you feel like I don't want to say it adds pressure, but do you feel like it's going to change how pitchers approach to you now that they know, hey, you're the name in the lineup they're circling?
I mean, I don't. I mean, it might, maybe, but I feel like no matter what, even if, I mean, there's pressure no matter what. There's pressure if you hit bad, there's pressure if you hit good. Like, so there's always those pressures, but I feel like I've said multiple times, it's just trusting in myself and knowing that no matter what the pitchers throw, like I'm going to be able to hit anything. So just really just trusting in my abilities.
And then for Courtney, one thing, down in Florida, your young pitchers, your freshmen especially, got into some of those moments, almost a trial by fire, whether that's the stage, the opponents, or both. What does that do for you? Even, maybe they had some struggles along the way, but what does it do for them to get that experience so early?
Oh, I think it's huge. It's one of the reasons we chose to go there, knowing that we had a young staff and wanting to see how they matched up and what we needed to do. And so I think that one of the best ways to learn is by experiencing. Like when we sit and talk to, Robin, and she's a spin pitcher, and just kind of saying, hey, you can't take a pitch off. And then you take a pitch off and they get a big hit on it. That's the best way to learn sometimes. And so I think that they went through that. in these first 10 games and really especially in these last 5. And I see them already making those adjustments. And so that's when we want to do it early, so we're stronger in the long run. I can use that example with Robin because we've talked through it like 3 times. But that's exactly what we needed with this young staff, is to see what pitches we need to make better. We need to see how they pair off of each other, their pitches and as pitchers. And so I think that we needed that just as much as they did. And then we'll still continue to rework our strategy so that we're the strongest for the long haul.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Eric?
Coach, since we last spoke in person in Clearwater, you became the all-time winningest coach in our program history. What does that mean to you to reach that mark there when you did it against Louisiana on Saturday?
It's been a pretty cool moment, cool few days. I'd be lying if I told you it was on my mind going into Saturday. I knew that it was something that was out ahead of us. Hopefully, I was hoping we would win. I think we needed 7 wins. So I was hoping we get 7 on the year. But, just coming off of Friday, it was more so just, just playing better, playing more like us, and finding a way to win the game. That ULL game was a grind. And so it literally didn't cross my mind until after the game, and Lenny gave me this huge hug. And I was just like, what are you doing? Like, we shake hands. Like, why are you? And if you know Lenny and my relationship, we're like that. And then all of a sudden I realized that it was this pretty exciting moment. It's been fun to celebrate it, and celebrate it with my staff, and celebrate it with our current players and all our players that have played here for us, who really got those wins. And more importantly, I just feel like we're just getting started. So it's a really cool milestone. And now we get to make history every time we win a game, but it'll be fun to see how far we can push that number.
Rylin, what was it from a player's perspective? Were you aware about Coach Deifel and that mark? I mean, what was it like after that game?
Yeah, we knew about it. We talked about it before going into the weekend because we knew she just needed 2 more wins. So, and we also we all, like, before the game started, we were like, okay, if we win this, like, how are we gonna pour water on her? Because the because the water that they had, it wasn't like a typical like Gatorade jug. And so we actually, like, me and Casey we were in the dugout, and we were talking to Lenny because we didn't know what we were going to do. And Lenny was like, why don't we just put it in a bucket? So we had to like dump the balls out and like clean the dirt out of the bucket, and then fill the bucket up with water, all without like Coach Deifel noticing. So, and we figured we got it obviously without you noticing.
Which I had no idea. I didn't know that it was water jug worthy. Lenny kept asking, like, do you want me to hold your charts? I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just get away from me, Lenny.
Yeah, and your charts did get wet. So
the whole chart is just stopping wet. Anyway, it was fun.
But yeah, so that was pretty fun.
What's it like playing for Coach Deifel? Tell us what's it like, the experience?
It's really nice that I get the pleasure to. I've played for her for 4 years now, so, and some people don't get to experience a coach for all 4 of their years because of like coaching changes and stuff. But the one thing about Coach D is that she really does care about us as individual people, not just as softball players. And she teaches us to be strong and independent women, like on and off the field, which I think is just so important, because a lot of coaches, like, they obviously, like, it's their job, so they care about winning and all that. But I do think that Coach D obviously cares about that, but she cares more about us as human beings, and cares more about us, like, helping the community and becoming better people. And so I just feel like it's such a pleasure to be able to play for her for 4 years, because I mean, she's just a great person to look up to every single day. So
Thanks.
It's a pretty good group of players there, orchestrating like kind of how to celebrate your wins there, Coach.
I know, they're pretty incredible. I'm really
Last
lucky.
very lucky. My last question is obviously you got Arizona and Drake. Tell me how this tournament came about. Obviously, the last time you played Arizona was Mike Kendrea's last year. Excuse me, and now you got Caitlin Lowe as the head coach. So tell me about that process.
Well, most of our tournaments, Matt fills through his spreadsheets. No, we handpick our opponents in our tournaments of just, a good balance of really great matchups and really great value. And so this one's no different. I think that the difference is the two opponents. We typically have 3, every once in a while we'll have 4. And so I know that it just goes in waves of being easier to fill and harder to fill. I think this one, just going with 2 and playing each 3 times, is going to be a huge challenge. But on top of, filling it with really great matchups and really great value, we also like to fill our tournaments with really great people. Because when you're going to be running a tournament or needing to work with them, you want to work with good humans and good coaches and people that are, mindful about the game. And so we definitely checked those boxes with these 2 opponents, all of those boxes. And so it should be a great weekend here.
Thanks, both of you.
Porter?
Rylin, my first question is to you. We talked to Callie last week about just her ability to start throwing her changeup, and really how has that helped y'all on the offensive end, being able to see multiple pitchers have that off-speed pitch, because it seemed to be, kind of an Achilles heel last year.
Yeah. Well, Callie specifically, I played against Callie all the time in travel ball whenever I was younger. So I mean, she's always been able to throw that changeup. Trust me, she's been able to throw it. But no, I feel like all of our pitchers, they all have crazy off speeds. Like we've hit off of them so many times in practice and in the fall and everything with Razorbacks Unlimited. So one of the biggest things this year is Coach Yo said to us, like as an offense, we need to make it to where our pitchers can pitch freely. And I feel like our pitchers are pitching very freely, and they're able to spin the ball and throw that off speed pitch a lot. And it helps us too, but it's like Coach D was saying, like if Robin, for example, like she doesn't spin a pitch and somebody gets a hit, it's like, okay, whatever, like the offense, like we're going to have your back. And I feel like the pitchers also have our back whenever maybe like in the Duke game, for example, like we didn't really have the bats going first inning or 2, but our pitchers, they have our backs whenever we're not there, and vice versa. So.
Well, that leads to my next question. Coach O was talking about the pitchers and taking chances. Does that kind of go the same for you when you're up to bat? And really, how does that take a lot of pressure of you not really having to work on a count and really having that 3-2 count in the back of your head of, we can just go out there and swing the bat? I mean, how do you think that's really helped y'all in the batting box?
Yeah, I feel like it helps us not have as much pressure, because we know like we have a great pitching staff and they're gonna get the job done. So it just allows us to be not as like tight. Like we can go up there and swing freely and not have to stress about scoring runs, because we have such a great pitching staff and we know that they're going to have our back and they're going to get the job done, so that we can, just play freely.
And Coach, my first question to you is just the fact that knowing that you would eclipse the win mark early in the season and being the person that you are, do you think that really helped, knowing that, all right, I'm going to get here and we can celebrate it when it comes, opposed to it be further down the road in the season? It's something that's kind of brought up all throughout the season.
I didn't think about it. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
When at the start of the year, they said, it was, I think, 7 wins away, I just felt pretty confident that we were going to get it. And that's like literally the end of my thought process of it. I know that sounds terrible. I literally just want to win the game we're in. And that's it. It's just putting us in the best position to win the game we're in. And that's literally all I think about.
Hey, And that's why I said the person that you're being, because we all know how humble you are about those individual type of things. But also, me and Justin were talking about last night of just being in Clearwater, and then of course the Baylor game. You've won games where you've had big leads, they've come back, or you've lost games where they took the lead and you've kind of come back. So how does that prepare you for this season when you're talking about that youth of kind of giving them that extra seasoning of keeping them in there and learning by trial by fire when it comes to SEC play?
Yeah, well, we've been pretty fortunate to have a lot of different looking games. And I think we've had the lesson of we can't let off the gas. We've had the lesson of if we have an out, we have a chance, just to fight till the end. And we've had the lessons of wins look a lot different. We've had one run wins. We've had 8-run wins. And at the end of the day, they still all count as one. And so it's just doing whatever we can to be +1 at the end. And just kind of filing all these away and putting it, once you experience something, what that experience is like, and you can be better in that moment. So as long as we're learning these lessons, sometimes the lessons don't sink in quite as much with this age. No offense, Rylin, when you still win. So hopefully we're not missing the opportunity to learn from wins, because those are the best ways to learn. And so a lot of things that we just kind of can file away and put in our toolkit so that we can be better as we go. But I mean, everybody that's been in the SEC or watched the SEC knows that anything can happen on any given day. And games look really different. You can get blown out and then win the next 2. You can blow out someone and then lose the next 2. And so just being really resilient, being really in the moment, and just fighting as a collective unit.
And the last thing for me is just the general non-conference schedule as a whole. You're talking about, Matt, handpicking who you play and how it's designed. You go to Clearwater, you're playing Arizona. Then the following weekend, you got Iowa State. So there's really no weekends off when it comes to getting ready for the SEC. And how important is that you design that schedule that way with this team?
Well, it was done on purpose for the team that we had, or have. And I think it's hugely important. I think that we needed the early challenge. We needed to expose some things so we didn't have to learn it later. But there's a lot of different ways that you can prepare for the SEC season. You can prepare by early, tough, top 10, top 20 matchups. You can prepare in a way that teaches your team how to win and grind together. You can prepare a lot of different ways for that part of our season. And this team in particular, we just felt like we needed to get challenged early, and figure out what we needed to tweak when we have so many that are at this level for the first time. And so we handpicked our challenges to get us ready for not just the SEC season, but to be stronger in the postseason.
That's all for me. Thank you and congratulations.
Thanks.
Ethan.
I have just one more. It's for Rylin. So this weekend was our first time. First weekend we're kind of squinting into the YouTube feed trying to see Coach Lenny and Coach Taylor. But this weekend with the ESPN, we got to see just how much fun it looks like you'll have, like, within being a part of it. We just talked about having those two. I know you played with them, so having them now on the staff.
Yeah. So I obviously played with Lenny longer than I played with Taylor, but it's kind of weird is not the right word. I don't know the word to use, but them going from like my teammates to like now they're GAs, it's just like a different experience, but it's also really cool to have them because they've been there. And so they're just really good people to have in your corner. If for anything like on and off the field. And they're just really fun people. So it's really cool that even though they're not players, they're still here for another year. And so it's just really cool that they get to spend another year and just create more memories with us, even though they're not like technically the team, but they are the team, like they're not playing, but they're still on the team.
And then last thing I have for you, Rylan, is just kind of talking about that like really solid class that upperclassmen that you were behind for so many years. Will you just talk about kind of how they've molded and shaped how now you being in that upper class, how you are kind of helping lead the team?
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, last year, for example, they were pretty much all Americans. They were like every team I've played on since I've been here, all the upperclassmen have been so ridiculously good at softball. And so obviously that just has made me a better player because I've had to play behind like really good softball players. But not only that, there's been a lot of really great people that I've played with. So they've molded me like obviously on the softball field, but off the softball field as well, like into like a more mature and like well-rounded person as well. So, I mean, it's just been really nice that I've had the opportunity to play behind like great human beings and great softball players as well.
Thanks, Rylan.
Eric, round us out.
Yeah, last question for both of you. I meant to ask, I forgot to ask you this. It was packed in Clearwater, and a lot of people wanted to see your team play. Like fans wanted your autographs. I think you did autograph lines, huge lines. That it was packed everywhere. What's that like to have to go to a place like Clearwater, a marquee tournament like that, and people want to see your program? Obviously, you have Arkansas fans there, but softball fans now want to see Arkansas softball in person. What's that like for both of you? Start with Coach.
Oh gosh, I thought you were going to start with Rue. Well, it was really cool. I think it's really cool. I think that I think each year I feel like we gain more support across the country. I think we win fans over a little bit more each year. And so as we travel around the country, as I travel to recruit, as we travel with our team, we get more and more people stop us and say, "Whoop Pig," or "We love your program," or "I love watching your team play." And it's a huge compliment to these student athletes. More than anything, I think that we are a team that when you watch on the television, you can't help but feel our passion and love for the game and each other. I think that exudes in our style of play and our style of connection. And so I do think that it's continuing to, I guess, gain fans and it's been a really, really cool ride. But it was really neat. I mean, this is our first time at that tournament, and we have, just people from here travel, and then you pick up fans along the way, or it's really cool when there's fans in other schools' gear that are giving us compliments about our program or wanting to take pictures with us. And I think that says a ton. So it was really, really cool. And just more than anything, a huge compliment to our current players and past players for how they play.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There was multiple people that I talked to that weren't even wearing Arkansas stuff, and they were like, "We can't wait to watch you guys play!" Like, and they would stay and watch us play. And there was one couple in specific that I talked to that they were FSU fans because they're from Tallahassee, but I talked to him and he was like, "Yeah, I've watched you play like the whole time you've been here and like kept up with Arkansas and all that." And like, he's not even an Arkansas fan, but he watched our games. And so it's really cool. We had like obviously a lot of our own fans, like even past just our family, like our parents and everything. We had people travel. I know Reagan, my roommate, she had one of her lessons, like their whole family came from Arkansas. So yeah, just past like our fans in general, there was, like Coach D said, there was so many other people that were wearing different stuff that came to all of our games and talked to us and wanted our autographs and stuff, which was really cool.
Coach D, Rylin, thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.